Welcome back to another session of Self-Care for Healers online masterclass series. It is my privilege to introduce Keith Horwitz. Keith Horwitz is an Agape trained minister, IET master instructor trainer, and spiritual director of the Soul Center OC in Newport Beach, California. He currently speaks and teaches classes around the world on metaphysics and spiritual science, including integrated energy therapy certification classes, meditation, yoga, divine energy medicine, holistic healing, and affirmative prayer. Although his practice is based in Los Angeles, he travels throughout the United States and abroad, offering workshops and speaking at spiritual centers and other venues. So Keith, welcome, and thank you. Thank you for being part of our journey.
My pleasure. Good to be here with you, Peter.
So could you please tell us what gets you into speaking and teaching worldwide?
Well, first I'll tell you that this was not part of my plan, and I was never going to have anything to do with this. As a matter of fact, I protested this several years prior to 2001, and I'll kind of fill you in on what I mean by that. But prior to 2001, and including a piece of it, I was in the corporate world in advertising. And I was like many other people. I had got sucked in to a lot of the stuff of my ego. And I had, for no other good reason than to just have financial prosperity, I made my way into the advertising world and I climbed my way up the corporate ladder. I made my way to third from a top of an agency and was really probably by the time I was there for about 10 years. And in that final year, I was in the highest realms of stress and the lowest realms of self-care that I had ever been in. Back then, I was only in my early 30s, and everything fell under the category of normal. The stress I was under was normal. The early onset of certain medical conditions was normal. And the way they wanted to treat it was normal in terms of Western medicine and probably getting onto some prescription medicines. Prior to that, and unbeknownst to me, I was on a degenerative path of pretty much self-destruction, all under normal. In my late teens, early 20s, I was very much subject to hypochondria and a very slow onset of panic attacks. And so that started to grow as time went on, not having any idea of your energy body, your trauma body, what issues really meant and how they can grow and become out of control. My issues and my traumas were growing and creating a lot of stress in my inner physical, emotional, and mental bodies. And it started to reach a crescendo where I was suffering from severe panic attacks, which was debilitating me in almost every area of my life. In the early days, I was using alcohol as a way to kind of self-medicate. The old like, oh, I'm just having this drink to calm my nerves. I was calming my nerves quite a bit because my nerves were fried from lack of self-care, and probably more than lack of self-care, lack of self-awareness. And so as time went on, I started getting where I couldn't fly anymore. I was having palpitations. I was going to the doctor all the time with all kinds of aches and pains, only to find out that the sharp pains in my heart were nothing. The sharp pains in my arm were nothing. But the panic attacks that became debilitating were something, because I needed to fly in the latter part of my career a lot. And I started not being able to. Alcohol no longer works, so we moved over to some prescription drugs to help me fly and cope. And all along the way, I was managing. I was really good at managing. I was also really good at avoiding, and I was also really good at ignoring. And then this friend of mine, for about 2 or 3 years prior to the pinnacle, she was, somebody who had studied Reiki, and she had studied hypnotherapy, and she got certified in integrated energy therapy known as IET. She got certified at the advanced level, and that's a energy medicine, a divine energy medicine. It's a hands-on using acupressure points to transmute. I'm going to highlight, bold, and underscore the word divine in the energy medicine, which I'll circle back to later. But it just means that God is in the equation. And back then, I didn't really care if God was in the equation because I had things under control. But my control was starting to unravel. And so she said, after many attempts to get me to meditate and to balance my chakras, to which when she would say that, I was like, balance your own chakras. I'm okay. But the stress had gotten so bad. She said, I just got certified in this modality. I'm giving away free sessions for the next 6 months because I'm putting myself in a self-imposed training, my own internship. And all you have to do is be my guinea pig, lay down on a massage table, let me go through all of the cellular memory areas. I'll release stress, trauma, and I'll balance you back out. And I was kind of like, this sounds a little airy-fairy. I was very skeptical, but it was free and all I had to do was lay down. So I said, sure, I'll help you out. I'll help you out by being your guinea pig. And so she gave me the session and I felt so much grace. Now at the time, I didn't even really know what grace was, but I felt peace and I felt stress lift off me. And I felt so good. One of the dynamics of fresh trauma and fresh stress is that if you do move into alternative healing practices, almost all of that is so easily transmuted and lifted. And all of a sudden, I guess I was so primed because I had been so depleted and so stressed and my nerves were so shot that it felt so good that I said, I don't even know what just happened, but whatever it is, I'm in, because it was tangible, it was tactile. My physical, emotional, and mental, I felt clear, I felt relaxed, I felt rejuvenated, I felt rested. I felt more rested than I had felt in a really long time. And so I dove in, I said, I'm in. I said, I'll take a session a week for the next however long, for the next 6 months, if that's how long you're doing it for. Of course, she was going to go to paid after 6 months. And so we did a couple more sessions. It was equally wonderful. And then she said, well, they're doing the training here, right near you in a couple weeks. And I'm like, I'm in, I'm signing up. I was a very skeptical person and the airy-fairy stuff was a little like, I don't know. But having that tangible experience, I was like, I'm in. I just fell into a place where I just like, I will just be, as we all recommend in spiritual growth, just be open and be a really good student as though everything is brand new. And I did that. I took the training. I was somewhat of a psychic turnip, meaning I didn't have all kinds of mystical experiences. Wasn't communicating with angels or ascended masters. I didn't have, I didn't know what being an empath or clairsentient meant really, even though that was the core of my anxiety and my panic attacks, come to find out. But I just dove in and said, all right, here I am. I took the training. I had a mystical experience in the basic level of the training. And without really knowing what I was doing, I just took all the levels all the way up to the master level. And during that time, I became ravenous for how does all this work? What's going on here? I need to know more. And so I started to explore and self-study on all the areas of spiritual healing and metaphysics, reading all the books. I read more books in that 1 year after that session that I had read my whole life up to that point. I took the training and started practicing with it and did the same thing she had done, which was give away and practice and start using the energy. So that's what kind of got me in. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, I'm one of these airy fairy people. And what I noticed was that as I was studying and searching, I needed something more. I needed a structure that was more than a modality, that was more than some like-minded individuals. I needed to know, like, how does all this work? Now, back then, I didn't have the vocabulary or the wisdom to understand what was going on. I was just kind of just like, woo, I'm just letting it happen. So I started to search around for spiritual communities. Now, just to kind of give a little bit of framework, and then I'll take a breather for a second, but there's the New Age community, which many people are familiar with. New Age people, you go into a New Age store and you've got your tarot cards, your angel cards, you've got your crystals and your incense and all of these things, which are as what my store actually, Aum and Garden, we supply that. And you've got classes on this and that, various types of alternative holistic healing. Some of it is very clinical, some of it is very spiritual. You have a lot of psychics and things of that nature. But there's no real structure, aside from a structure of perhaps maybe a modality, whatever it lies into. And so I decided that I was going to go around and find out. I had heard about spiritual centers, and I went around, I did my Goldilocks. I went to various different spiritual centers that I had heard about. And I went into one, I thought, oh, this one's to this and this one's to that. And then I walked into the Agape International Spiritual Center, which for me, when I walked in, before I heard a word, I was like, this is it. Now, this is it, I wasn't sure exactly what that was. But as I was coming to find out, one of the key things, and don't ask me how back then I knew this, but I started to really, that hunger, that ravenous appetite for this was what was pulling me. And all I knew is that when I heard the truth, that's what would pull me. And so I walked into that spiritual center, which is part of the New Thought teachings. And the New Thought teachings are mystical, metaphysical, spiritual teachings of absolute truth. Now, all religions, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, shamanism, any other of the indigenous teachings, there's a mystical realm that you go up to after you do the kind of elementary school of traditional religious teachings, which is what most people aren't really fond of, because most religions don't want to take you up into the mystical teachings. They want to just leave you in the dogma and the status quo, and without making any of them bad or wrong. In the New Thought arena, which comprises of unity, Unitarian, Christian Science, religious science, Agape. There's a few other Swedenborg, lesser known ones, but these are all, Ralph Waldo Emerson would be somebody who falls under that umbrella. A lot of the forefathers of America fell under this umbrella of the mystical New Thought teachings. And so it was in there that I found like, oh, this is like being at Hogwarts for metaphysical and mystical teachings. And that's where we came into understanding the laws and the principles that govern the universe. Most people are very familiar with the law of attraction, with cause and effect, with karma even, although a lot of people have karma misconstrued. They don't really understand what karma really is. And they also, a lot of people have religious damage. A lot of people have experienced things in their own religions that have kind of turned them off to the mystical teachings within that. And so as I started studying and, oh, wow, just for example, the Law of Emergence. the law of emergence is, as you look at the different laws of cause and effect, law of attraction, law of karma, etc. There are, when you look at physics, physics are the laws that govern the physical world. And when you go to metaphysics, meta meaning above, you move into the higher laws, the laws that are rising above. And if you were to look at it as kind of gradations, you'd see the vibration of each law rising in frequency. And so the law of emergence simply stipulates that there's something brilliant, amazing, impeccable, that brings you joy, that makes your heart sing, that God, that your soul is seeking to emerge and express through you into the world. And the law of emergence, when you say yes to what is seeking to emerge through me, is a much higher vibration and will bring you much more joy and much more prosperity and much more of the things that make your heart sing than the law of attraction, which the law of attraction is a very essential, and it's a very brilliant and beautiful experience. But there's the low end of the law of attraction and there's the high end of the law of attraction. The low end is when the ego is trying to manifest something. That would be the lower vibration, because that might not be in alignment with what your soul is seeking to emerge and express. But as you move up, you might go into the higher vibration of the law of attraction, which is the law of transmutation, utilizing the law of transmutation to heal that which is incongruent with your higher self. So your issues, your buttons, your traumas, or as Eckhart Tolle might call it, issues in the pain body. So the law of transmutation heals that so that you become more in alignment. And then you're starting to use the law of attraction in a way to manifest things that actually mean something to your heart and soul, as opposed to your ego. So nothing wrong with saying I'm a good parking manifester. I always get great parking spaces. But, I always ask people, is the parking space that's right in front of the front door, is that always the best? Maybe the one that's, several aisles over, that's going to make you walk a little better. Maybe that one's the best. So the difference between our perception of the law of attraction is, am I trying to make something happen? Or am I trying to allow something to happen through me that will make me more happy than anything I could ever make happen? So it is the merging and the raising of the vibration of our pain body, our trauma body, or aspects of our ego to merge into the oneness with our soul. And so to become aware that to live a principled life means you honor these laws, and I'm not just trying to manipulate and make things happen. Now that for some people might be a big stretch, but then you start to understand certain principles where the universe vibrates at 100% love that is intelligent. It vibrates at yes. So if I want to have a bad day, yes. If I want to have a good day, yes. The universe, and again, because I am a minister, not a minister that paid $25 online to become an ordained interfaith minister, but one who studied for 8 years to get a spiritual license degree, and then also become an ordained minister, which means I studied deliciously. I loved every moment of it. And I don't mean to make that sound like I'm so wonderful, but because I just really want to know, how does all of this work? And so to understand these laws and the principles and then apply them where you are working in accordance with your soul, because your soul is always going to take you to the highest vibration of that which brings you joy better than anything else. But most of us don't even know what that is. And I'm going to take a breather in just 1 second. The one time in meditation, this is going back years ago, I just heard, there are things that bring you joy that you don't even know what they are. most of us were like, oh, I would be so happy if I went to Hawaii. And it's like, yeah, that's true. And then it's again really good to understand the difference between temporal energies, meaning energies of time and space, and eternal energies. Eternal energies are peace, joy, beauty, love, harmony. Those are eternal. They never go anywhere. Temporal energies on the lowest vibrational scale are anger, frustration, irritation, guilt, shame, resentment. Those energies are of the temporal world. They have no staying power except to the degree that you would choose to allow them to be. But then here's the rub. Why would anybody choose to experience anger, resentment, guilt, shame, any of those feelings? And that's where becoming aware of your own energy body comes into the equation, which is like, if you understand the metaphysical, spiritual science of who you truly are, then you will know we need to access the law of transmutation to ascend, but ascend beautifully and benevolently, because the universe only operates benevolently. And the universe never, ever says no. So one of the things that I used to hear a lot was, oh, I was going after this, or I was going after that. It would just make my heart sing. But, oh, well, I guess it's not meant to be. There's no such thing as it's not meant to be in the divine. That which makes your heart sing, that brings you joy, it's meant to be. The universe isn't sitting there going, well, I know that would really bring you joy, but no, that's not for you. So it usually means if something is not working out that brings me joy, it means that something needs to be healed, transmuted, released, in order for me to accept that. So that's where we really want to become cognizant and take responsibility for our lives, and really stand in a greater awareness. And no matter where we are, just allow ourselves to take that next great step, knowing that the universe has set it up that nobody can fail. It might seem like it at some times. And so that's where I became very cognizant of that, which is our topic today, which is self-care. That is enormously important. And I do want to kind of hit a couple points on that, but I just wanted to check in with you and see, was there something you wanted me to hit before I move on?
But I was going to ask you how the universal principles can, just knowing them, how can that help us with our self-care?
Yes, very good question. Well, one of them is, knowing that that the laws and the principles would say that God holds nothing back. Your soul holds nothing back. So if I and that in scripture, when people think about sin, the original Aramaic Hebrew word for sin is mistake. It just means I made a mistake. And the biggest thing is, we sometimes hear cliche sayings in our spiritual communities and our new age communities, that you're perfect, whole, and complete. And that goes along lines with the scriptural passage that we, each and every one of us, are born in the image and in the very likeness of God. So that's your perfect, whole, and complete, meaning that your soul, which has never been hurt, harmed, or damaged in any way. Some people talk about soul sadness. That usually means that's just a very deep core lifetime's experience of sadness. But your soul can't be sad. Your soul has never been hurt or harmed. So your wholeness is with you all the time. It's kind of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. You've had the power the whole time to go home, should you access that. And so most of us don't realize, and what's mind-boggling wonderful is that science is now confirming, with the advent of epigenetics, with the new science in the quantum M theory, string theory, we're starting to know that the old laws of physics, which even anybody with half a rational mind would know that, they used to think there was nothing smaller than an atom, and then quarks showed up. You'd have to think, well, there's something infinitely smaller and infinitely bigger, because we know spiritually there is no time and space, and there is no matter in terms of size or shape in the divine, in terms of the infinite eternal. But when you do come into time and space, then the laws of metaphysics and the laws that govern the universe come into effect. And if you don't know how they operate, then you might be thwarting yourself and doing things that work against you, which degenerate, as I was doing. My life had been going downhill until that pivotal moment. And then all of a sudden, I started to participate in regenerative and restorative practices. Now, albeit it took me a little getting used to. I had healing to do to take place, because I wasn't really good at meditation or prayer in the beginning. I didn't even understand the principles of prayer. So 2 things I would highly recommend to anybody watching this is, A, your meditation practice in terms of self-care is paramount. Everything in mysticism and spiritual growth is amplified, because meditation, no matter what kind it is communion with spirit. So whether it's mantra, whether it's stillness, whether it's movement, whether it's activation, whether it's query or visioning, all of them is communion with spirit, communion with your soul, communion with providence, and then allowing that to come in. So meditation is a must for self-care. And prayer. Prayer, if I was going to wave my magic wand, everybody who's watching this would get very familiar with affirmative prayer. If you Google affirmative prayer, you'll find a few different styles. And this is what the New Thought community offers, because the thing that the New Thought community as a spiritual community offers that often temples and mosques and churches and other religious centers don't offer is they ask you to grow and expand and in your spiritual evolution. I was doing a talk last week and it just popped in out of nowhere. And maybe this has been said before, but it just popped in from nowhere for me. But you are the CEO of your life. You're the chief evolutionary officer of your life. And you can't quit that job. You can't leave it. You can't walk away from it. You are the chief evolutionary officer, no matter what. You can get a raise, you can get higher, greater benefits, but you have to participate in your own conscious evolution and meditation and prayer. So some people pray in a way that actually gives them the opposite of what they're after. And again, because of my ministerial background, I do reference the mystical references in scripture, such as when it says, pray ye believing. Belief is whatever you believe, you're going to perceive and you're going to achieve. We know that the belief system belongs to your human. So this is part of understanding the principles and the laws. Your beliefs belong to your ego. Your beliefs belong to your human nature. Your soul does not need beliefs and does not have beliefs, because your soul lives in the is-ness, or if we go again back to scripture, when we talk about the I am that I am, that is an is-ness frequency where all needs are met, all wisdom is known, everything is good. So you don't need to choose anything and you don't need to believe anything. But as Stevan Thayer, who is the founder of integrated energy therapy, says that it's like angels. Angels are vibrational frequencies of God. So if you were to, I'm going to borrow his analogy, if you were to take a prism, a faceted prism, maybe a crystal that you might find in a metaphysical store, but it's nice and faceted, and let's say the sun is God, and the prism, when the sun hits that prism, it refracts out different colors. ruby red and emerald green and sapphire blue and all the different rainbow colors. If you were to take one of those colors, which all belong to the oneness of the one color, they say, what is it, that all the colors are comprised in white. And so, but you'd see that refraction and go, ah. So a messenger, which is what an angel is, a messenger of truth, capital T truth, not lowercase t truth, lowercase t truth being, oh, I got to tell you my truth. Capital T truth is immutable, pure, eternal, infinite. So it's that rainbow color. If you were to grab it and maybe take, the emerald green, which a lot of people associate with angel Raphael as a very healing or heart-centered energy, but you're taking a piece of the divine known as radiant wellness or radiance. Or maybe you're taking the pink, which is an eternal frequency of joy. So these eternal frequencies, if you were to isolate them, are kind of what we call angelic energy. And in there, you don't need free will or free choice. Free will, free choice, and beliefs belong to the human realm. And that's what allows us to have experiences, that which allows us to have contrast. So, all of this probably sounds pretty like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But navigating, because when you have a trauma in your energy body, it creates a filter. And now your inner light is shining out through that filter, and that filter distorts things, both in the way you see out into the world and the way the world sees you. It's a bi-directional filter. So those traumas or our issues, that's what we want to heal. So I always use the example, if you had a fear of heights, you could manage it. You could just avoid, you could use, it's not really a law, but I make in jest the law of ignorance, which would just say, I ignore. I'm going to ignore that I have a fear of heights, and I will just avoid. I'll always stay on ground level floors in hotels. I'll never take an invitation to go somewhere that's high up. I won't climb Mount Everest. I won't go to the top of the Empire State Building, things of that nature. I'll just manage it. Or if you are participating as the chief evolutionary officer of your life, you will say, I'm going to heal that. I'm going to heal it 100%. But when you go to heal it, you're going to heal. If you want true healing, you want to have spiritual healing that clears that traumatic energy from the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the karmic, understanding the makeup of your energy body. Because if I clear something from my physical body, but I don't clear it from my emotional or mental body, then it's only a matter of time before it will probably rise back up into the physical body. So, kind of a short example would be like somebody who goes in and always gets a massage for a particular type of pain that they have on a chronic basis. If it's chronic, you've got a karmic healing that needs to have some attention to. And it's like, so I get it out of the physical body, but I haven't gotten it out of the emotional or the mental body. And here it comes, because the law of attraction is going to draw to you vibrational situations that will exacerbate it, not to torment us, but to let us know, because all pain is just an alarm that goes off, just like your dashboard would light up to tell you you need oil or you got a flat tire or whatever it is. It's an alarm that goes off to tell you something's off. And so that pain, whether it's physical, emotional, maybe it's emotional anguish or mental anguish, something of that nature, is letting you know something's off. But we don't want to deal with it at the level of the temporal. We want to deal with it at the highest vibration, and that is communion with spirit, communion with your soul. And just one other kind of footnote is that, again, this is something that some people get lost on their spiritual journey. In scripture, where it says, do not worship false idols. What that is meaning is, don't get lost in the laws of physics or of things of the temporal world. So a false idol could be a medication. Now, I'm not saying medications are bad. Medications can be quite wonderful. But if that becomes my God, and I don't allow for spiritual cleansing, healing, revelation to take place, I could be worshiping a false idol. So in an extreme case, so for me, I was worshiping the false idol of alcohol and anxiety reducers, because they were giving me some immediate gratification working on the biochemical level, but not having any effect on what was in my physical, my emotional or mental levels. So, so just to come back around, we want to take control. I don't want to use the word control, take responsibility. And I talk about capital R responsibility versus lowercase r, because capital R responsibility means I will observe and assess what's going on. I won't make it wrong or bad, but I will look for the highest, greatest, grandest healing, the highest, greatest, grandest way to transmute and transcend in a benevolent and beautiful way. That's what I'm wanting to look for. So that's kind of a little bit of understanding. There are other laws, the law of creation. That's also one of my favorites, where we don't have time to really talk about that today. But when you understand, just remember that revelation is what we're after. We're not after an intellectual understanding. An intellectual understanding is probably a sure recipe for frustration. An intellectual understanding at first is fine, but if I just leave it there, and it's like, I know that God never says no. I know that the universe only supplies infinite, benevolent abundance all the time, but I'm not experiencing that. That might be frustrating. So we want to really participate, and that's where the self-care comes in. I work primarily with healers and spiritual teachers. Those are mostly who my clients are. And a lot of times we are working on the self-care component, because some people, it's like a staircase, your spiritual evolution. You're going to heal, transmute, rise, and then you're going to enjoy the freedom of it. Then you're going to heal, transmute, rise, and you're going to enjoy the freedom of that. And you're just going to keep going until you reach enlightenment, being in the world, but not of the world. Since we're right around this time where we've celebrated the holidays of Passover and Easter not too long ago, the ascension is to be free and to keep growing. And most of us are about this much on a scale that I can't even show you in terms of our spiritual evolution. But if we allow our soul, if we allow the divine to participate in this equation and keep lifting us as we go, then it will be fun, it'll be joy-filled, joyous. And I can definitely say that, I am the spokesperson for letting it be fun and joyous. So I was going to kind of circle back to just one little thing we could do today to highlight, but I wanted to check in and see if there was anything you wanted to highlight before we get to that.
Well, no, I think you've hit everything very well. Are you going to go into your energy field clearing technique?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to kind of say. So if you're a metaphysician or a spiritual healer or maybe a yoga teacher or something of that nature, we're probably all familiar with our energy body to a degree. Most people are familiar with the 7 main chakras, starting at your crown, working your way down to the root. What I find to be very pertinent and important is, so if this is your physical body and this is your energy body, at the top of your energy field, you have your 8th and 9th chakras. So your 8th chakra is your soul star that contains the energy of purpose and passion with regards to what it is that your soul, so it's very connected to the law of emergence, that which your soul is seeking to emerge into this lifetime, to emerge, express, experience in this lifetime. The 9th chakra, just for clarification, is the energy of your soul that it doesn't need to do anything. It doesn't have purpose or anything. It is. It's just the is-ness of who you are. The I am of I am is that energy of the 9th chakra. Then at the bottom, at your 10th chakra, is your earth star. And that's where you ground things in the physical. If you want to, I used to be so I was so, I was considered a flight risk. Whenever I would sit down and do any of this stuff, I would just want to leave. And what I didn't know back in the days is there was actually a trauma in my cellular memory where I actually, it was unbeknownst to my surface mind, because you have to remember your surface mind and your subconscious are two aspects of your human nature, but your superconscious or your higher mind is where we go when we're doing all of this, meditating, etc., communing with the divine. But I didn't know that in the subconscious, because most of us are operating from the 10% awareness of our surface mind, but your subconscious is where you store your beliefs. In our lifetime, the goal is clean out your belief system so that you are just completely one with the divine, so that you can just really enjoy. We want to get to a place, because some people go, oh, a lot of people don't even know what they believe. But for sake of how energy flows through creation, so chi, prana, life force comes down through the 9th and 8th chakras, and then it begins to spiral like a double helix, like DNA. And that double helix, that DNA, is what we know in the first pair of your DNA. So there's 6 pairs, but science knows about the first pair, which is your physical. And that's, your gender, your eye color, everything else about your physicalities. So very much, so it spins down through the 12 strands of the 6 pairs of your 12-strand DNA, and it's what gives form. There are codes that give form. There's a code that tells your cells how to be fingernails, or it tells your eyes how to be eyeballs, or it tells your heart how to be heart. And those cells make up your organs. If you look at the anatomy of a cell between a fingernail cell or a hair cell, there's very little difference in the physical anatomy of those cells, except for this teeny tiny little code. And if you if you haven't read it already, you read The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton to understand epigenetics and cellular biology as how it is influenced. But the key thing I'll highlight from his teachings is that any particular gene has the capacity, under the new science, of 30,000 potential expressions, meaning that cell is waiting to be told what to do, and then it will express, kind of like a printer has all these different ways of what it can print out, but it's waiting to be told what to print. But, and where this is where science hasn't really gone yet, but we know in our spiritual teachings in metaphysics, there is a perfect blueprint of every cell, of every gene, of every muscle, of every bone, of every tissue of your physical, emotional, mental bodies, and your body of affairs even. And so that perfect blueprint, so chi, life force, prana, comes spiraling down. Once it hits the top of your energy field, it spirals down like a double helix. When it hits your 10th chakra, which is where you ground. If you really want to understand what grounding is, and that's a separate conversation, because if you don't understand what the true definition of grounding is, I'll just give you the lasered answer. It's grounding heaven on earth. That's what grounding is. We ground it by bringing it all the way down to your 10th chakra, and then the strands split, and they're going to come up the outer edge of your auric field back to the top, and they're going to spiral down. And that is the toroidal flow of energy that flows through your energy body. So life force is constantly coming in. The Torus Energy Field Clearing, which we're going to do in a minute, that's what it looks like. It comes down, it spirals through, and what it's doing is it's awakening and realigning the perfect blueprint. Now, some of it requires free will and free choice to choose our way back to that blueprint. But this process that we're going to do utilizes some mudras, prayer, and then movement. So we're going to do that in just a moment. I feel like there was something else that I'm supposed to tell you, but I'm giving you a crash course right now. So we're just going to go ahead. This can be done in a variety of ways. It can be done, I could imagine the whole process if I just want to imagine it, or I can go full visceral, which means I'm going to allow my body to move with this whole process. And I'm going to show you what that looks like as a full body. So I'm going to give you a little bit, I'm going to stand up here a little bit, of what that would look like. So you'd be standing, we're going to do a prayer. We're going to use prayer mudra. Then we're going to go, I'm going to just show you first, and then I'll actually guide you through it. And then you're going to go to auric field mudra. This represents your auric field. Then we're going to go to life force, chi, or divine awareness mudra, which is your index fingers. So you come back to prayer mudra and you fold everything over except your index fingers. Those are the three mudras we're going to use. And if we had time, we would go into mudras, but I'm sure most of you understand what a mudra is. It activates a flow of energy. So those are the three mudras we're going to do. And then the movement, after we do this movement, we're going to come back, we're going to open our central core, and then we're going to sync our breathing and our movement with the life force flow, which is going to look like exhaling down, inhaling with your hands coming up. And the intention is that they're coming up to your soul star, to the top of your energy field, exhaling as they come down. And we're just going to do 12 cycles. And the guidance here is, while I'm guiding you through and while you're doing it, you want to let the energy move you as opposed to you moving the energy. And you just want to like participate at that level. Now, you don't have to stand up and you don't have to bend over. You could do the modified version, which is just going like this. You could do it seated. You could do it standing. We're going to go slower when we're doing it. I'm just thinking of time constraints for the moment. And then, or you could again imagine the whole process in your mind. You don't even have to activate. What I have found though, is that when you do the physical components to it, you're creating the tactile connection so that it makes its way all the way into your bones and into your body temple, because your body temple is where you experience things in the temporal plane. So the only other caveat to that is, or addition would be, there's the intention that the process has, which is homeostasis and realigning your own energy field. It connects you to the perfect blueprint. The more you do it, the more you bring yourself back. Just real quickly, the law of associative memory. That's one of those things that can really thwart us. The law of associative memory is whatever has been, whatever I'm used to is what I gravitate towards. So if we get stuck, the law of associative memory can be good, but can also, it's what keeps bad habits intact. It's because it's what I'm used to. So we want to break those energetic ties via the law of associative energy to heal and transmute so that we can rise into the freedom. Because if you can imagine, if all of a sudden I had a fear of heights and then all of a sudden I had an immaculate healing and no more fear of heights, that's real liberation. That's a real healing, and it's all the way to your core. And it's not something I managed or coerced. It's something that the divine, my soul through me, transmuted on every level of every dimension of every incarnation of my beingness, so that I am truly empowered. So with that being said, I'm going to go through the process. I'm just going to put on a little, I like background music. I'm going to, for sake of, I guess, visuals. Well, you know what? Sorry, it's technical. I will do it standing, but you can do it however you want. If you're just watching, you might want to just watch this one time. Or you can just join right in. Actually, I'm going to invite you to join right in. If you're going to do the full body movement, make sure your feet are solid, about shoulders width apart, and bring your hands into prayer mudra in front of your heart center. And we take a moment in prayer and we remember that there is a grace, a brilliance, a beauty, a light, and a love that governs the universe. This love is intelligence. It is intelligence that deliberately and only seeks to bring about joy. We know that God, the universe, the creator, whether we call it Adonai or Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, whatever we call it, there is a universal presence. It is omnipresent. It is everywhere, in every dimension of every incarnation, of every space and every place, in the furthest reaches amongst the farthest stars, to the closest, most intimate recesses of our bones and cells and tissues. And this presence that we call the universe or God, it only operates from goodness. It only operates from bliss and love and joy. This is its frequency. It is a bliss or nirvana beyond our wildest dreams, and is stated in all the sacred texts and scriptures around the world in one way or the other. We, each and every one of us, born in its image and likeness, from the very heart, the very mind, the very light, the very love of God. We are microcosmic expressions of the Most High. Beyond our name, our age, race, religion, gender, personality traits, degrees, labels, titles, or conditions, beyond any of that, there's the energy of the soul that has never been hurt, it has never been harmed. And there's a perfect blueprint back of every aspect of your life, your physical, your emotional, your mental. For the divine is everywhere. Your soul is omnipresent. Just like the beam of light is to the sun, we are that to God. And so we remember this truth. We allow ourselves to recognize it and to evoke it, to remember the truth of who we truly are, that we are the beloved in whom God is so pleased, that we commune with our angels, the divine, and we allow ourselves to return home without going anywhere. It is right here, and the perfect blueprint of all good is within us. And so we take a moment and zero in on our own energy body by bringing our hands from prayer mudra into auric field mudra, each fingertip touching each other. This represents the auric field, the electromagnetic field of energy that at the north pole of your energy body is your soul star. I invite you to bring your awareness to the north pole of your energy body. Just become aware of the energy of your soul, purpose, passion, that part of your anatomy that lives outside of time and space, that is eternal brilliance. Just feel, have a sense, where is it? Usually about a meter, maybe 4, 5, 6 feet above your crown. Wherever you sense it, however you feel it or know it, just become aware of your soul star. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness down to your earth star at the south pole of your energy field. About equidistant, about a meter, maybe 4, 5, 6 feet beneath the bottoms of your feet. Become aware of your earth star, where we, you, me, each of us individually grounds heaven on earth. Wellness, goodness, prosperity, harmony, peace, joy, love on earth through you, through me. And as you become aware of the top and bottom of your energy field, I'm just going to invite you to bring your awareness to the front of your energy field. Just see if you can sense where the front, in front of your heart center is. How far in front of you is it? Just see if you can sense the outer edge. Whatever you feel, whatever you see is perfectly wonderful. And now I invite you to bring your awareness to the back of your energy field, behind your back, behind the heart. And then I'm just going to let you let go. Bring your hands back into prayer mudra. And then fold your thumbs over, leave your index fingers rising up, and fold your other fingers over into chi or prana mudra or divine awareness, which just simply means we activate and we allow, we sense And we feel the flow of prana, of life force, that is always cycling through us. But this mudra says we're allowing it to heal, grow, and expand in benevolent and glorious ways, to revitalize and rejuvenate as we connect to the natural circadian rhythm of this energy. Once you feel the flow as it pours down through the top of your energy field, a big flowing, glowing wave of energy, as soon as it makes its way through your soul star, it begins to spiral like a double helix. So I invite you to bring your hands back flat against each other, and then just pull your hands apart as though you're opening your central core, and only open them as far as feels comfortable, maybe even arcing your chest forward a little bit. And then we're going to sync and link our breathing and our movement with the flow, allowing the flow of energy to move you, not you moving the energy. We exhale as that energy spirals down our central core. If you want to bend over, you can, only as far as feels comfortable. And when your hands hit the bottom of your, as far as they can, reach and bring them up until they hit your soul star in prayer position, exhaling as it comes down. Inhaling. See if you can feel the tingles in your fingertips as the strands rise up the outer edge, and then exhale down. And we're just gonna do about 9 more cycles. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And 1 more cycle ought to make 12. And as your hands come down on this final cycle, stopping in front of your heart center, bringing your hands back into auric field mudra. And I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness to the north pole of your energy field, to your soul star. See if you notice any difference. Is it a little bit higher? Maybe a little bit brighter? Bring your awareness down to the south pole, to your earth star. Is it a little bit deeper, a little bit lower? If it's in the same spot, that's all right. Collapsing your hands back into prayer mudra. And just with a prayer of gratitude, we bow and we give thanks, knowing that the universal presence, that which we call God, the energy of our soul, only and always seeks to rejuvenate, regenerate, expand, to grow and heal in benevolent and beautiful ways. And all we need do is be still and know that I am. All that we need do is invite, evoke, and allow these heavenly energies to flow through us and bring us home. I am grateful for this and so much more. And it is from a place of gratitude and thanksgiving that we just allow it to be. And we just say, Amen. And then, if you want to come back into a seated position. Sometimes if you take opposite hand to opposite knee, it's a good way to help balance your energy if you become a little light. And with that, that's one of the processes I came to me and use in my divine energy medicine classes. So that was just a sample of that. And I think that's one of the things that I really highlight in terms of self-care is prayer, meditation, education. Is you want to keep growing in your meditation practice. Your education, reading wonderful books on spiritual growth, making sure they're from places that are the ageless wisdom teachings of the mystics. You want to make sure that you participate. The law of circulation, that's a law that, so many people, oops, sorry about that. So many people don't understand that, like when they're going through prosperity issues, if I'm not generous, if I'm not participating in circulation, then I might be thwarting my prosperity. So little things to just be aware of and know that there's so much room, and to also, look at your life structures, which are your physical body, your work and your career, your relationships, and make sure that your life structures are solid. If you are a healer and you want to support and heal others, and your life structures are crumbling, you're going to be very tired and suffer from compassion fatigue or burnout. And trust me, I did a whole program working with all 16 participants on that. And you don't want to be at the mercy, because a lot of people will quit what they love doing just because they don't take care of themselves. So with that, I yield to you, Peter.
Well, Keith, that was amazing. Thank you so much. So if the audience has any questions after the session's over, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me is through my email. Is probably the best way to reach me. And they can do that at Keith@Aum, which is A as in apple, U as in universe, M as in Mary, and garden.com.
Very good.
So, yeah. I'll be quite honest. I'm doing this just for people to have a greater awareness and explore. And so I'm not really looking for business or anything like that, but I will not reject it either.
Very good. So Keith, thank you so much. Thank you for your pearls of wisdom. And I'd also like to thank the audience for being part of our journey. And until next time, be well.
Yes.